Hello everyone, welcome to Colora Academy, and in this particular video we'll be discussing on Google Analytics 4 and the entire walkthrough of the interface that Google is actually providing us in Google Analytics 4. But the first slide is on what are the different 10 benefits which are there once we migrate on or once we shift on to Google Analytics 4. The first very important pointer which is there for the benefit that I've counted on is the increased customer journey insights. Now, once you are getting transferred or migrated from Universal Analytics to something on GA4, you get awesome customer journey insights right away from the beginning. So the entire life cycle management from acquisition to engagement to retention as well as monetization is available right away into the GA4 interface that you will be actually visiting on. The next very important feature which GA4 is having on the user engagement data. Once you'll be exploring on the user engagement, you'll be able to find entire whereabouts from the traffic front as well as from the user interface front in itself. Whether it is a new user or a returning user in itself will be able to explore multiple different user related data once we are exploring on with GA4. The next very good benefit which is there once we are migrating on with GA4 in itself is on the audience front. Audiences have been given more tools and integrations for marketing campaigns. Now, once we get into the ad segments in itself, you'll be able to, appreciate on that, we'll be able to work on with specific campaign related data and how once we have integrated with my Google advertisements in itself, we'll be able to find out the entire audience related data on a campaign front in itself. That is really awesome, which has been integrated in this GA4 interface, which is there. And the fourth benefit which we are having in is GA4 is more adaptable for a cookieless future. Now everybody knows out there in itself that we are heading on to a cookieless journey kind of a thing that will happen. And so obviously GA4 is much more adaptable. It is much more optimized once we move on to a future which will be entirely cookieless with a flexible approach to data measurement. That once we log into the GA4 interface in itself, at that point of time we'll be able to see on with that. The fifth major important breakthrough which is there is the free BigQuery integration, which allows us to analyze terabytes huge raw data directly with structured query languages, the interfaces that we'll be getting in. This was a huge kind of an upheaval activity in Universal Analytics, but with the GA4 interface in itself, it gives us a very smooth integration directly into your property segments in itself once you will be exploring that option. The sixth, again a very crucial pointer, is data collection, which becomes unlimited once we are moving into GA4. Ensuring reliable data informs business decisions. Obviously, the more data that we'll be exploring on, the better it will be for our businesses. The seventh option or the seventh benefit for Google Analytics 4 is on the enhanced measurement events that are there. In GA4, we are very clearly, it is obviously inbuilt events which are there, which are provided in the GA4 interface. Many different events that perhaps we had to define in a Universal Analytics is inbuilt, integrated automatically once we install our the basic configuration tag in itself into my Google Analytics. We'll be able to get those events segregated, and to get a event transferred to a conversion becomes just a toggle of one button in itself, and we'll be able to shift, or we can declare a specific conversion from that specific event in itself. So that is this format in itself is that simple and that awesome. The eighth front is with more powerful data modeling in the background. GA4 has now created predictive audiences. Now, what is predictive audiences? We obviously know with more of machine learning getting into the analytic fronts in itself, we will be able to predict on with our audiences, the future audiences, directly into our GA4 interface. So once we are setting up on the stream options which are there, we will be able to have a predictive option that we can segregate on. But obviously this kind of a prediction will only work when we will be having good amount of voluminous traffic into our websites. If our websites is not having that much volume kind of a traffic in itself, our audience predictions will not be eligible on. The ninth, again a very important pointer, is on the exploration tabs, the exploration facilities which were probably available in the GA 360 platforms kind of scenarios, or the more costly platforms or ad platforms that were there. We could have explored on this particular options, but currently the free version of GA4 in itself, it's providing us with the exploration tab, whereby we'll be able to get an advanced, you can see out here, an advanced and powerful custom reporting tool which allows for deeper analysis of your data. So once we get into your explorations tab in itself, you'll be able to find out that whether I want to get my data into a donut format or a freeform format or a kind of a pathway format kind of a thing, I can derive the data directly out there in itself. So once we get into the practical implementations, we'll be able to explore this specific feature, the ninth feature that you are able to explore on. The 10th and the last benefit, I will not be saying it's the last benefit in itself, because there are massive different additional changes which has happened in once it is the Google Analytics has shifted from the Universal Analytics to this particular GA4 option. But the new debug feature which has been again integrated on the debug facility which we could have accessed on something on the GTM options, it has been integrated with the GA4 option so that it allows us to check how well my tracking is deployed in real time, right? Else in our Universal Analytics in itself, we would have gone into a real time capturing data kind of an interface, and we should have rather explored on, or from our legacy tag assistant in itself which we integrate with my Google Tag Manager, we could have explored on. But with the debug feature which has been integrated in this particular option of GA4 is a massive development, right? So having said that, just let us get into our dashboard of analytics, GA4 analytics in itself, which will be giving us a much more better interface. So I'm currently into the GA4 interface, but we am into the demo account of Google Merchandise Shop or the merchandise store in itself, which gives us the demo facility of exploring multiple different events as well as reports right away. So once I am into the left hand panel, we are able to find it out that we are having 4 different additional options. We start off with home, we move on with the reports tab which has been shown out here. The third variations will be the favorite option of explore tab which is being provided, and last but not the least we'll be exploring on the advertisement section which has been mentioned out here. So we'll begin on with the home tab. So what are we able to explore on in the home tab in itself? The first box which the home tab is showing us is on the users. So perhaps with the last 7 days kind of a tenure, which is again editable on, if I click down out here in itself, I'll be able to work around with the last 90 days data or the 28 days, or we also have the custom feature out here whereby I can easily move around and explore these numbers right away on the days as per my requirement. But we'll not change on with the data which has been provided out here by GA4 for the Google Merchandise shop. So this is again a website, it's not the flooded app which is there. So if I click on with this, I will always be able to get the flooded app, but still for this particular session in itself we'll explore on the website of Google Merchandise Stores. So we have around 15,000 users which are getting visible out here and which have made a total event count of 317,000, and these 15,000 people in itself have made 125k conversions out there, and out of these 15,000 users we have 11,000 users which are new users. So here in itself we are able to deduce on that there are 4,000 users which are specifically returning people in itself. So once we get into our the next returning databases in itself, I'll be able to explore on. The right hand part gives this box as the users. The 60 users are there which have been live, which have been, again, this is a real-time data which is being shown out here. So in the last 30 minutes we have 61 people who have visited our Google Merchandise Shop website, and these people are majorly from US, 36 people. We have from Canada 9, India 4, as well as Argentina we have 2. If I click on with the view real-time tab out there in itself, we'll be able to explore more into this particular interface which we are able to find out. We move down, and here in itself we are getting access to a few additional datas which are there, or options. These are being segregated on the basis of sessions, users, as well as by views options which are there. So come here in itself, the first tab, the first column which is getting visible, the first chart which is getting visible is sessions by specific default channel groups. So from where these sessions have happened, so whether it is from direct channels options or organic channels, whether it's a cross network or something which Google is unable to identify on, or whether it is a paid search, referral traffics, as well as organic social media accounts. So I'll be able to find out that if sessions have happened, we have had 8,700 sessions which pertain from the direct channel group. We have had 3,800 sessions which are pertaining from the organic search options which have happened, and this is the first direct options has been growing at 46.6%. if I start comparing between 1st to 7th June versus the 25th, that last 7-day week of 25th May to 31st May. So we are able to compare right away on the basis of the session options on the different channel groups that we are able to explore on. Again, these are segregated on the basis of descending options. So direct channel is able to provide a higher count of sessions than something like a referral channel, which is able to provide 266 sessions in itself. Right, and we are degrowing at 56.8% on a 7-day kind of a platform that is there. Once we move on with our users part, we are able to explore on the countries segments in itself, and US is generating around 6,400 traffic, and it is degrowing at 11.5% for the last 7 days. If we explore on with the view countries tab out here, we'll be able to check around with this data to a greater extent. The third tab that we are able to explore on is views by page title. Again, these are all the title tags which are there. So the home page is able to generate the highest number of views, which is something like 1.8k, as well as you are having drinkware. So these are the different additional page titles which has been actually provided to us directly. So we are getting the home page is degrowing at 84% of the different additional views options. We'll be able to explore all these different additional pointers right away once we get into our different additional options which have been provided. So that's on with the home tab. We'll move on with the second tab which has been provided, and that is reports. So we'll click on with the reports tab, and my Google Analytics 4 is loading. So we'll be patient enough, and my reports snapshot has opened it. That provides us a holistic kind of an data. So here in itself, on something like a tenure from the last 28 days from 11th May to 7th June in itself, we are able to find out that we are having 60,000 users, out of which 49,000 users are new users who are having an average engagement type of over a little bit more than 1 minute 50 seconds, or close to 2 minutes in itself, and they have been able to generate a total revenue of 37,000 US dollars. Once we get into the users data in the last 60 minutes, it is giving me 63. So it was 61, another 2 people have joined in. Perhaps here in itself we are able to explore on these different additional channels from the first user. So whenever a person is visiting in, the users are visiting in first time for this, in this particular website, Google Merchandise Shop, the data is getting captured on here. And what are your top campaigns? So these are the different additional as per the top campaigns in itself, what are the sessions which have actually happened in, it is giving us a kind of an interface data. So this is on the report snapshots that you are able to explore on the scenario. We'll just click on with the real-time data, which will be rather exploring this 61 number of people which are there currently, 63 which has happened in, and we can find out that this donut is showing me that 65% of the users are coming in from the desktop, which is really great, because you do not find such kind of a high percentage of people getting into websites from desktop. So fortunately for Google Merchandise Shop, it is 65% of people, and we have 34% which are visiting this site from the mobile, from their own mobile phones. So we can see this this entire world data which is getting visible. And from this one, just see, Xiaozhou is having around how many, 1%. Here the darker the circle, the better it is for us. So that shows us the different additional data. Just scroll down, we'll be able to find out other real-time data which are there. So for the users in itself, coming from the direct channels, you have 14 people, as well as Google search, we have had 10 people who are there. If I want to explore on from this audience front, again on the audience front in itself, all users, the non-purchasers, again recently active users in itself, these are all pertaining to the real-time overview, my friends, in itself, right? So these are all pertaining to these 63 people who are currently visiting this particular site. How many, on the basis of different events of something like page views, user engagement, we are able to find out the events, right? So these 63 people in itself have made around 183 page views which are getting visible on. So this is on a holistic real-time interface that we are able to explore on. We'll move along. We'll get into the life cycle part. Again, as I was rather telling you, this is a diversification, a big development from Universal Analytics to the GA4 options that we are able to measure on the customer life cycle. In a Universal Analytics kind of a scenario, we were concentrating on sessions and views kind of thing. Here, once we have shifted on from the kind of a views and sessions concept to something like an life cycle management scenario, or an event based kind of a scenario that is present in a GA4 interface. So the first tab that we are seeing on in a life cycle management part is, as I have told you previously also, we'll touch up on something like on the acquisition part. This is entirely on the life cycle. So whenever an audience visits a website, it is getting acquired on, then that audience engages on into the site, as well as whether if it is an e-commerce site, which your Google Merchandise Shop is an e-commerce site in itself. So whether we have been able to monetize those audiences which have come in, and whether they have become my customers or not, whether these people which have come in or which we have acquired on, whether we are able to return, we are having returning customers or not, or whether we are having returning users or not, whether we have been able to retain these visitors into our website or not. So that will be able to capture on. Once I get on with this entire option, you have your user attributes as well as technical information out here that will be able to figure out. We'll click on with the acquisition tab out here, whereby we start off with something like an acquisition overview. If I click on with that, you'll be able to get all segregations of user acquisition as well as the traffic acquisition. So under the user acquisition, we'll be able to find different analytic options on the basis of new users, or else it is returning users which are there. On the traffic part in itself, we'll be exploring on the session data, right? Irrespective of whether that person, that the user is a new user or a returning user in itself. We are not bothered on once we are getting into the traffic acquisition data that will be there. So this is the acquisition overview, which gives us data again for the last 28 days. The site has been able to generate something like 60,000 users, out of which 49,000 users have become the new users, and these are the countries from where these users have come in for the last the real-time options. The new users which have been filtered from the default channel group, so from direct channel as well as organic search in itself, which capture maximum 17,000 as well as 14,000 users which are there. So these are the first user data interfaces that we are able to find it out. We are again having our sessions segregated on the basis of our default channel group, as well as sessions which are based out on the Google Ads kind of a scenario. So we are again able to segregate on those different, whether they have come in from a Performance Max campaign or something like these are all the different additional campaigns which are running in. As I was rather telling you in our benefits section in itself, that we'll be able to check out on have additional reports getting created on the basis of different campaigns which have been built up on, right? So just see the Performance Max test campaign is able to generate around the maximum sessions of 6,600, right? So perhaps this has been the best performing, kind of a 38% share. You have Google Images. This is what Google Ads Performance Max with lifestyle images kind of campaign. So this is the second campaign which is able to generate a 21% kind of a conversions in itself. So that was the kind of an acquisition overview that we are able to generate on. We click on with the user acquisition, whereby we'll be having a data interface on the basis of new users as well as the returning users that will be there. So this is the user acquisition from 11th of May to 7th of June, and we are able to explore on with something like the traffic has been from direct traffics, or it has been from the users have been from the organic front in itself. We have been able to find out here. So a total of 48,698 users are there who have had 74,000 engaged session. Now what is engaged session in GA4, right? Just see, the definition has been provided by GA4 in itself: the number of sessions that lasted longer than 10 seconds or had a conversion event or had 2 or more screen or page views, right? So that will be getting captured as an engaged session in GA4. So these people, these 48,000 people have had 74,000 engaged session at an engagement rate of 86%, and we are having engaged session per user at something like 1.25. So these have been segregated on the basis of either direct or organic or cross network, or it's a paid search, right? Advertisement kind of a scenario that these people have come in. So we are able to find out on the user acquisition data, right? So whether these people have been new users, right, or they have been on the returning front in itself, that will be able to find it out here in itself, right? We move on, we get into the traffic acquisition, where we'll be able to segregate on the basis of sessions. Just come out here. So if it is those same options, same traffic data in itself which are coming in from whether these people have come in from an organic search, so we are able to find out that from organic search 17,000 people have actually come in who have had 24,000 sessions, right? So this again was based out on sessions. So traffic data, so these users, 17,000 users, have had 24,000 sessions, and the total engaged session has been 22,000. The average engagement time per session is close to a little bit more than 1 minute that we are able to find out, and engaged session per user is close to something like 1.2, which is actually happening on the organic search option. So again, these are the specific the diversifications that we are able to find out on the basis of traffic acquisition. After we close down on the acquisition part in itself, we move on with the engagement part. Again, a diversified engagement data information will be getting visible right away out here. Once we click on with the overview tab, again engagement has been segregated on. You can see out here that we have events, we have conversions, we have pages and screens. Now why screens have been provided? Because GA4 gives us the facility of integrating our website, our application directly into one single platform. So that is again a best feature, an advantage over a huge advantage over our UA universal analytics kind of a thing. So once we are into our engagement overview, we are getting a total engagement time of just over 1.1 meter. Sorry, not 1 meter, 1 minute 50 seconds in itself, and engaged sessions per user is close to 1.2 that we are able to view. There has been 317,000 views and the total engagement count has been 1.5 million. Now on the basis of these events in itself, we can find out on whether it's a promotional event or it's something like a page view event. So we are able to segregate on those, whether it has been a scroll. Again, all these events or max to max, all max events in itself are integrated directly, right? In universal analytics, we rather need to have these events set up by getting into tag manager, again into universal analytics, setting up events kind of a thing. So that was entirely manual, but once we are coming into GA4, this provides us an automated integration directly for most of your the pointers, something like a scroll, a view item, a user engagement, a page view. These are all integrated directly, right? We'll rather move on. We'll get into the events so that we'll able to check out on with the specific events how they have actually performed on. So we come out here. So for view promotion or for rather page views, right, there has been around on the page view front in itself, there has been 316,000 page views which have happened, which have been made by 59,000 users, right? The event count per user is something like 5.32, and the revenue has not been generated out here because from a page view you cannot define something like a revenue. So obviously we will be able to find out all these are all the events which are getting visible, and on these segregated events we are able to explore on the user datas, right? So how many users have done a scroll, that we'll be able to explore on. So that is the kind of an interface that you are getting in for the event. Once you click on with the conversions tab in itself, whichever events which has been defined as a conversion, right? So you have to be again defining specific events as conversion just with a toggle of a button, right? From left to right, you moved on with a toggle and you will be able to create a conversion. Again, how many conversions have happened for specific, like for view item, if they have made in Google Merchandise Store in itself has defined something like a view item as a conversion, then in itself it is getting visible. So 13,000 odd users have made around 15,000 conversions, and the total revenue that will be getting fixed up on will be rather visible on. So that is on the conversions front that we are able to find out. We move on and understand on the different pages where engagement has actually happened in, right? So once we click on with this, we'll be able to segregate on. Just see, so this is the home page, which is given by the / out here, and this is again the separate different all pages which are there. So we have a store front, we have an apparel front, we have a drinkware, we have a men's section which is giving so much. Just see the count of views. So perhaps the men's section, men's page in itself is generating around 11,200 views, and these views have been made by 6,000 users. The views per user is again just getting divided by this at 1.85, and the total engagement time is close to 58 seconds, which is bleak, but still it is again a big website can have something like these kinds of different additional pages. So on the pages in itself, we'll be able to explore on with the options, how views or how the users are or which page in itself is generating more views, which page in itself is generating more users, from these specific users in itself, the views are getting generated on is getting visible. We come into the landing pages, and again we'll be able to segregate on the basis of the different landing pages which are present into your website. So again, for the apparel in itself, we are able to find that 7,200 users have had 7,800 sessions. Out of these 7,200 users, we have 5,700 as something like new users, and perhaps close to 2,000 people is returning perhaps. So obviously we'll be able to segregate as on these different landing pages. So drinkware is a landing page, apparel is a landing page, stationery is a landing page, you have YouTube, which is a landing page. We are able to find out news, so many different varied landing pages which has been actually segregated out here in itself, right? So that's on the engagement front. You also have a monetization tab, whereby as this is an e-commerce site, it will be having the different purchase related information which is getting visible. So there have been 383 purchases within this particular time of 11th May to 7th June, and out of these 383 people, you're having 327 of them as first time purchasers, right? So again the activities, the specific lists which have been provided, right, the promotion tabs which have been the different campaigns, right, an adventure awaits, something like a send a smile kind of a promotion name which has been provided on. These have been segregated right away in this particular monetization tab which is there. We click on with the retention option, so that we are able to find out that out of 49,000 new users which have come in the last 28 days, 13,000 of them have been returning users, right? Again, as per the cohorts in itself, you'll be able to find out the user engagement has been provided, as well as on a day wise kind of a retention. So from day 0 it will be 100%, and as we move ahead in itself, as the days pass by, the percentage will actually decrease on, which we are able to find out here, right? Just see 3.6 to something like 0.3, and it will be decreasing on as the days will be passing off with, right? So that's on the the retention part. You also have users, which is again considered on the user attributes. So you have an overview which is giving us a little bit of an information from the countries from where the users are actually coming in. Apart from that, like which are towns or cities from where max to max people are coming in. So we are able to find out that from Toronto, Canada in itself, you have 2,300 users who have visited the platform from 11th May to 7th June. On the gender kind of a thing, we can find out like 60% of the people are male. Apart from that, from the interests of these specific users, we are able to find out that these are having something like users who have interests in technology, who have had interests in media, or rather they are light TV users who are rather TV lovers, and we can rather segregate on the interest fronts also that is getting provided. We can explore on the age basis, on the language in which they have their the accounts created on Google. Apart from that, we are having our demography detail. If we click on with that, it gives us this entire overview in a detailed kind of an analysis. So from US, we are having 29,000 users, out of which 22,000 have been new users. They have had like 29,000 users have had 39,000 something engaged session, and this was the engaged rate. So that is the diversification that we are able to find on the country front in itself, right? If I click on with this, we can have a region, a town, a city, a language, an age. As per my requirement in itself, I'll be able to add on these the row items that are getting visible out here. On the technology front, if I click on, it gives us a little bit of an overview of the technical part. We just click on with that and we'll able to find out. Just see, so the max users are from the web in itself, as this is a website, and you're having in the last 30 minutes users are growing in from something like 61 that we had started off, and currently there are 69 users which have been there. The browsers from where these users are coming in is the highest is Chrome, then you have Safari, you have Edge, you have Samsung mobiles, you have Firefox, as well as Android users. Desktops is something like 48%, you have 47 as well as tablets are there. So the screen resolution, you have maximum from, just see, the people who are visiting this particular site have a screen resolution of something like 1920 to 1080 pixel density, which is really great. So again, once we are creating content for our websites in itself, we have to check out on that we are creating good high crisp images so that people get a wow factor, right? So that's on the reports part. We'll just touch up a little bit on the explorations tab, which is there, whereby, like, if you're a person who has been comfortable with pivot charts in MS Excel with good amount of data explorations, you'll be able to find out that these are a really a cakewalk for you. So if you like to explore on a free form data and you click on with that, you'll be able to create customized reports directly as per the visualizations that you require on. So kind of a free fall, just see, you'll be able to find out that specific, if it is something like a free form data, whether you want to get this data in a tabular format or a donut kind of a chart option that you are able to visit on, or you want to explore this data on a line chart. This is all customized, it is all open to me, right? As per my requirement, I'll be able to fix up with the different options that are there. So here in itself we can find out that the row options are something on towns and cities. So perhaps if I scroll down here, I'll be able to find out towns and cities, right? So I have towns and cities which is getting visible. So if I pull this down out here, right, I'll be able to get this information right away. So from Toronto we have 2000 odd active users which are getting shown, right? Apart from that, if I want to add on the events, right, out here, so I'll just catch hold of this one, place this in this part, right, on the the columnar part in itself. So here I wanted to place on, so something like different dimensions if I want to add upon, or something on the values. So the event counts in itself, if I drag down and I want to add on, just see on the values. So on the columns in itself, I'll also get the event count values, right? So from Toronto we have around 2300 active users who have had 35,000 events, right, as per my specific requirements. If I want to delete on any content in itself, I'll click on and the number gets deleted, right? So these are all customization options which are available. So this is one format that we are able to find it out. We can explore these with a different additional format also. We have free form, a cohort part, a funnel kind of a scenario, a segment overlap, a path exploration. We can have multiple different variables once we are getting into this particular explore tab which is there, right? The more that you come down here to explore, the better it is, because you will be able to customize more of a information right away, right? So many different dimensions, whether it's a segment which is there, or the different dimensions of gender, country you want to work along, or it is something on the different matrices which are getting provided out here in itself. You'll be able to explore on, and as per your requirements you'll be able to fix up on, whether it's a free form that you are comfortable on, or kind of a funnel exploration that you are actually exploring on. Obviously this will not work because the the content in itself has not been built accordingly, else the form will not work as per the specific requirements that you have actually set up on. We move on, we get into our advertisement tab. Once you click on with the advertisement tab in itself, you'll be able to find again for different performance. If I get into my all channels kind of a thing, I'll be able to get an understanding on the basis of different, again, for the default channel groups in itself, what is the count of conversions which have happened. But again, I'll just click on the basis of campaigns, so that I'll be able to identify that which campaign in itself is able to generate a better conversions with a lower ad cost perhaps, right? So I have had a Google Analytics demo campaign, right, which is based out on something like on the Performance Max test, right, which has provided around 32,000 conversions at a cost of $2,000 approx, right? The cost per conversion has been awesome at 0.07, right? The total revenue, again on a lower side, 852, but it's great. Again, the ROAS front is also 0.4, right? So again, we will be able to work along with these different additional campaigns, which conversion, which campaign in itself has provided us with a better conversion at a lower cost, with a better cost per conversion, as well as a higher return on ad spend in itself, or the ROAS front. Apart from that, this is on the performance tab. If I want to get into the attribution front in itself, right? So whether it's from a last click or from any of the data driven options which are there, if I click on with that, just see data driven, we have a last click. These are all the attribution options which are available to us. So I'll be able to explore on the campaign basis, on the default campaign groups in itself. I'll be able to explore these different additional options. So again, I click on with this. If I want to check out on the campaigns front, right, which specific campaigns on the last click front has been able to generate a greater conversion with a high revenue front in itself, that will be visible out here, right? So this is again a very good option on the attribution front for different, just see, we are actually segregating on 11 different conversion events, right? So once we have segregated, once we have fixed on that I'll be having 11 conversion events in itself, what are those? Whether it is purchase based, a begin checkout based, or something like a first visit option, or these are the different conversions getting fixed up on. So once I want to explore on 11 different conversion events on the basis of different campaigns, I'll be able to do that. Or else if I want to have it on anything that is specific on the purchase front in itself, and I click on apply, it will be giving me the data in itself on the purchase front, right? So if it is a purchase kind of a conversion which has happened in this particular advertisement with a attribution model of last click, is able to generate 15 conversions with a total revenue of $616, with a total this is conversions, the growth of conversions has been something like 9.37, and the different additional options which are there, right? So these are the different pointers. I hope so you found out this walkthrough of entire GA4 quite interesting, because GA4 is something that doesn't have a specific end, right? You can begin but you cannot end, because there is so much to actually discuss on once you start off with analytics, right? So thank you once again. I hope so you like this particular video, and we'll catch up with you in our next video. Thank you. Cheers.